If there are two things Aussies love more than anything, it's Bunnings and having a whinge. So what do you get when you combine both of them and look at the worst rated products at Bunnings? Are they all valid warnings of products you need to stick away from, or are they underrated hidden gems that have just been needlessly slandered by Karens and Darrens? Well, in this video, I've bought the worst rated Bunnings products of all time to put them through a series of tests for each and every one of them so that I can review them myself and let you know once and for all. Now let's dig in. First up, we're going to ease ourselves into it by testing out this Saxon round mouth shovel. Now this is going to be the best, most positively reviewed product of all the ones that we're going to be testing. It has a whopping 2 stars. Now I know what you're thinking, we've known how to make good shovels for literally hundreds of years. How could we possibly bugger it up? Well, let's see what the reviews have to say. Ian says, failed where the fiberglass handle enters the shovel head, only 12 months old and have had very little use. Do not recommend the shovel except for very light work, which is not the purpose of a shovel as it is a digging tool. Gavin said lasted 3 months and it broke, very weak shovel. You've been warned. Shane says handle broke very easily, not strong at all. So it definitely sounds like the big problem with the shovel is the handle breaking under load. So that's what we're gonna have to test and a series of increasingly difficult challenges for it and see where that failure point is. Which is a bit of a shame because if I'm being honest, what I quite like about it is that it is fairly lightweight. But if that means that it's then no good after very limited use, then how lightweight it is means absolutely nothing. Let's jump to our first test with it. So I'll start with it in a very lightweight activity over here on my pumpkin patch, which at the moment is actually my mustard seed and sweet pea patch, and also a whole lot of dandelions patch. Man, I need to clean up this area, but we can start with the shovel because this is basically just topsoil and compost. It should be very loose, very easy to get through. So it definitely digs in and does that without any real issue. It's even gone through the couple layers of clay that's right at the top of that. And it felt like there was absolutely no stress coming through the handle there. So let's get to something more challenging. All right, now we are ramping up the difficulty of it by a fair way because I'm gonna be digging straight into this lawn, which is on top of a really dense clay. Now it has been raining a fair bit lately, but even so, when I had to dig up this whole area to put in these garden beds a couple of years ago, I had to do it with a garden fork and it took me ages. So I wouldn't be surprised if it starts to really struggle over here, and then we're gonna keep going until it breaks. And even if it passes this with flying colors, I have more challenges for it to attempt until we get to break it. There was a big crack just then, but I think it was the rivets just kind of settling into place. But it seems to be handling this clay with no real effort, so let's see how it can handle stones. Next on the test of trying to get it to crack is, hey, crack literally and figuratively, are these stones, which this is my compost area over here, but this is also where I've been dumping a whole lot of the landscaping stones that we're covering every single garden bed when we first moved into this place. I've had to be moving them over here by hand because shovels tend not to handle this stuff too well, but we'll see how this can do it. The first challenge is actually just trying to dig into the stone, which, so far that's fine. It's not even struggling with that at all. All right, I have one more spot where I might really struggle with it. All right, I think I have a final test that will actually get this to crack, but if I'm honest, I'm getting a bit sick of dealing with the shovel, so let's jump over to a couple other products and then get back to this later. Now, a big theme with these products today are that they are all on the cheaper end, and something I've talked about a couple of times, but I used to be a product manager, and the way that a lot of these brands like Bunnings and Target, Aldi, Kmart, they get a lot of these cheap end products is they just browse existing factories and see products that are already getting made, that are already selling well, and then just slap their branding or logo on it and then just sell it to you at a big markup. And I know that that's how it works because it used to be my job. But one thing that I tell everyone in my personal life, one of the biggest life hacks to save yourself a whole bunch of money and also make sure that you're getting products that you really enjoy is anytime you're buying anything from any of these stores, anywhere online, is just try and search it or similar products first on AliExpress. You'll usually be able to find the exact same product at about 30% of the price, which is why I'm so psyched that AliExpress is sponsoring this video because it's genuinely one of my favorite platforms of all time. Half of the stuff in my house is honestly AliExpress products. There are also a bunch of products where you can only get them from AliExpress, like this Mayu Flip 2 is one of my favorite purchases from the last 12 months. It's a little handheld video game emulator that lets you play things like Game Boy games, N64 games, Dreamcast games. I've recently been getting really into backpacking and through hiking, and in Australia, it's just not that popular of an activity, so stores don't really have much of that stuff in stock. But guess what AliExpress does? I bought this ultralight hiking tent, upgraded hiking pegs, a titanium pot, this sit pad. These are $10 in store here. The exact same one is $3 on AliExpress. One of my newest favorite tools is this USB-C rechargeable electric screwdriver, which I'm already gonna buy a second one to just live in my car. We also just bought a mini carpet cleaner that I got to just basically keep in the garage, always to be handy for the cars, but it's quickly moved inside because it's so much more powerful and sucks out dirt so much better than the name brand one that runs with Missile that was about twice the price. Coolest thing is that for the month of November, AliExpress has set up a culinary garden team where I have exclusive vouchers for you in the description, up to $53 off. Plus, the more we all spend together by the end of November, the more cashback we will all get as a team, up to 10% off, using the link and vouchers in the description. Honestly, check it out, start using it. You will save yourself money, and please use my vouchers because I really want them to sponsor me again because I bloody love AliExpress. This is one of the worst Bunnings reviewed products of all time. It's these 360 grass shears, which they're scissors that cut grass. How bad could they possibly be? Well, 45 people on Bunnings have given it a 1-star review. Let's see what the reviews have to say. Kim says, bought these yesterday, don't even cut properly, don't waste your money. Diane says, first pair broke within a week, replacement pair took a few weeks before plastic workings broke. Rosie says, bought these a few weeks ago, went to cut the edge of grass and found it did not cut. My indoor scissors cut better, such a waste of money. Well, it sounds like these just don't do the job and the plastic might be a bit brittle, so let's put them to the test. Now, the good thing is I have a lot of the perfect conditions to try and test these because I have so many of these garden edges where I don't really like getting the whippersnipper out, and these might be the perfect solution. So first I'll try and top this and oh my God, they do feel very, very plasticky when you rotate them, because this is part of the features, is that you can use them in vertical mode or gangster horizontal mode. Well, so far, actual leafy blades of grass, it seems to handle really fine. It's definitely a fair bit of a forearm workout, but so far there's no real signs of them being inadequate. But I have much thicker parts of grass to try and give them a bit more of a challenge. Right now, for a lot more of a challenge, over here in this flower and herb bed, the edging needs some serious work because when I don't really want to get in here with a whippersnipper or mower too much and accidentally take a few layers off these flowers, which means that some of the weeds and grass runners over here are going to be a lot more mature than just the blady grass over there that we're tackling. And I think the people that are buying these are more likely going to be trying to use them for this, so let's see how they hold up with this sort of scenario. Definitely a big problem is as you have to put more and more force through them, the whole thing flexes and it stops the blades from being able to actually make contact. And I think that's the cause that a lot of people are really running into. That eventually you're just going to hit big material fatigue in amongst these plastic bits. One of these will snap because this just isn't rigid and stiff enough to support the work that the blades have to do. Ugh. And that's the perfect example where it's no longer able to cut because the rest of the tool just can't support the blades. And the whole thing just flexes, the grass goes in between, and it's just getting stuck, which is making them pretty useless as a tool, but let's see if we can make them totally fail. Over here is an example of what I think a lot of people are actually going to be buying these for, which is a cheap way to do edging. So let's see how this can handle the thick Kaikuru runners. It has cut the first one, it has cut the second one. And I think that's about all I'm getting. Try and get this on camera properly over there, but you can see exactly what's happening. Where once it's closed, or once it's closed enough for there to be a grass runner in here to where you're then chopping it, look at how much extra flex is in the handle. And this is all you're doing the whole time. You're there just constantly trying to squeeze. You're not actually getting any further. And you're just putting all this stress through this handle until eventually it should crack. By the way, if you want a manual tool for the exact same price that'll do a much better job, these are about 20 bucks off AliExpress. It's called a half moon edger. You just put it in and kind of stand on it and repeat. And if your lawn's soft enough, you can just literally walk it along And it's so easy and does such a clean job. I've legitimately stopped using my electric one and I just use this everywhere now. It looks like the next one-star product is a Saxon 2.7 kilogram fiberglass block splitter, or a log splitter as we would probably more so call them. This has 8 one-star reviews. Horrible, unsafe, don't buy, Michael says. James says, doesn't split logs. After hitting multiple round times with no luck, the head came loose, rendering it unusable. Well, it looks like it's time to go to Bunnings and pick myself up one of these so that I can... Hang on a second. Oh, I already own this exact one and have so for a couple years. Let me tell you what I think about it. I've owned this for nearly 2 years and I have put it through absolute hell. Everything from its intended use of splitting fire logs, and I mostly split redwood here, which if you know is really tough to split through. And I've also used it to take out tree stumps out of the ground. Cue clip. Most weeks I'll use this 2 or 3 times a week to split a good half dozen logs or so. And it's never shown any sign of being anything other than excellent. This fiberglass handle is actually really solid. It's not like that shovel from before where you can feel that it's probably going to break pretty soon. This does feel really solid. By the way, if you want to see some little videos of my weekly fires, make sure to check out the Culinary Garden Discord. It's completely free. You just come and chat gardening stuff with me and others in the community. But now I'm going to split some wood on camera, and I am sure no one in the comments will have anything to say about this technique. Perfectly safe. Really though, it is good at splitting wood. I really want to get onto some of these other products, but this shovel is just sitting here laughing at me. So let's do a bonus shovel durability round test. All right, still good, back to next products. The next one's made me kind of sad because this little stone light sphere Eden charcoal pot has 1 review and it's a 1-star review with no description. And here I am to try and figure out what could possibly cause someone to give this a 1-star review. It's a pot. If you're new to plants or gardening, this is somewhat of a teachable moment because this is a decorative pot. What you use these for are things like house plants, outdoor plants to go on your deck or patio or something like that, but they have no hole in them, so you don't fill these with soil and put a plant in here. No, instead what you do is you take your normal pot plant in one of these cheap pots that actually have decent drainage, you fill this with your actual soil that's correct for the plant, and this is easy to upsize anytime that you need to pot up, and these are really easy to just recycle or keep the same pot in the part of the house that actually works really well and then swap out the plants as you need. You put that in there, and this has a fair few advantages. One, if you overwater it, it's not going to leak out onto the TV cabinet or something that you've put it on top of. And 2, it actually enables you to bottom water the plant, which is much healthier for the plant and soil, and will help you reduce things like gnats and those little flies and stuff that come around. Because instead of watering directly on top of the soil, you only put water in this itself, and then the water will soak its way up through the bottom of this pot. The roots will be more encouraged to grow down, this plant will be stronger, you have lower disease resistance, and look nice. They're a win-win. $11 is maybe a little pricey for something that's plastic, but I mean, it looks pretty nice. I definitely don't think it's a 1-star. I'm gonna fix that right now. This is my little pot that could. I'm going to call mine Edith. It looks very nice. I wouldn't change it for the world. 5 stars. The next product is another one that's full of 1-star reviews, and it's another one that this time I'm ashamed that I own. Because like many high schoolers that will go through a goth phase, nearly everyone who buys a house, even though I'm a professional gardener, still went through my lawn care phase. And yes, I understand, lawns are horrible for the environment, bad for pollinators. They're really resource intensive, time intensive, but I still tried my hand at it. And I was damn good. But I bought a product that solves a problem that is usually quite expensive to try and solve for most home gardeners. That is this Cyclone 3-pronged lawn aerator. Now, if you've never gotten into lawn care before, you might wonder what the hell this thing does, or maybe what's the problem that it solves. In order to help lawns grow really big, thick, luscious runners and have a really good subsoil system, you usually want to do what's called aerating, which is where we are going to try and introduce a whole lot of air to the soil and also take out a whole lot of roots and reduce a whole lot of compaction. One of the most common ways to do this is you will go and hire a lawn corer, which can usually run you up to $1,000 a day to hire. It will run over your whole lawn, it'll punch a whole bunch of holes in it. You'll then do what's called a top dress, fill it over with sand. It'll help improve drainage to the soil, aeration. It does a whole bunch of great things for the lawn, but it's really expensive. So Luckily, Bunnings has this 3-pronged aerator. But let me show you my experience with using it. The way that this works, it has these 3 prongs with these tines in it. These are essentially hollow tubes or straws that will dig their way into the lawn. They will help extract a core of lawn. They'll then come up out of these holes, punch them out, and you're just doing the same thing these automatic cores will do. They will keep pulling out all these plugs of lawn as you go. The problem is it doesn't work unless you have exactly perfect lawn soil conditions. You have to have like the exact soil composition and moisture level to be able to have that effect where it actually pulls it out. Otherwise, you might as well just be using a garden fork because all it's doing is punching little holes in the lawn. And as I punch them here, you will see the plugs of dirt and soil that are in there, they stay in there. And so many times I've thought, oh, maybe it's just that one plug that's stuck. I go through the trouble of clearing out these and then I just go through the same thing. First punch, soil goes into here, it gets stuck, and then it just stays there and it doesn't fulfill its intended purpose. This is $45 I really regret spending. Next is a product that I'm absolutely shocked has so many 1-star reviews. This is only $2.50, but it has 25 1-star reviews and a single 4-star review. And that is this 3-pack of tennis balls for $2.50. Finn, so I'm gonna need an assistant to help me try and work out if these are any good. Christy says, 1 star, dog chews it apart within 20 minutes. Luckily I saw it too much before time passed and she vomited up the bits after, should be removed from shelves. Nicole says, 1 star, utter rubbish, lasted 2 minutes if that, don't waste your money. There's 1-star review after 1-star review. Well, Finn, we better see how bad these could possibly be. First test, juggle. Really good to juggle. All right, Finn, let's, come here. Sit, ready, get it. Oh, good boy. Phineas Industries Destruction Lab is gonna look after those while we review the next couple of products and we'll see how he goes with them. Unfortunately, after the disappointment of these, I still have a whole bunch of line trimming to do, which means that I might need to investigate some other products. Luckily, I have another 1-star product to test. This 3mm Saxon line trimmer line. This currently has a rating of 1 star, but only from one single review. Kurt D says, I thought that all trimmer lines were the same quality, but this stuff is absolute rubbish. I left my large spool of steel line at home and purchased this to get me out of trouble, but it just breaks instantly. Right, Kurt, let's see if it really is that bad or if you just don't know how to use a line trimmer. Now, I really don't want to have to re-spool my entire whip snipper just to test this stuff, so I'm going to try and just cut off the length and then kind of just roll it around the end and see if that works. So I need to cut a little bit. Thankfully, I do have one of mankind's greatest cutting devices. Can't cut grass. Let's see if it cuts this allegedly very brittle plastic. It's the exact opposite of an unstoppable force meeting an immovable object. It's something that can't cut versus something that allegedly breaks too easily. Hey, it got it after nearly breaking. Oh, perfect. First test, this little area. Now this is just grass on grass, so there should be no additional abrasion from things like concrete, which is usually where you start to run into a lot more issues with things like lines constantly snapping. So we'll see how it handles this. After all that, literally good as new, not a single millimeter missing off the end of it. All right, but let's try it under a circumstance where it will break and it'll just be how easily. This is the sort of circumstance where you are usually going to want to use a line trimmer and it's inevitable that it will break, but your technique will actually impact how often this breaks far more than the quality of line trimmer that you're actually using, or line trimmer line, trim liner. Anyway, because what you'll see a lot of people on the internet do, because it is quite effective, but it will snap your line nearly straight away, is use this completely upside down to cut a really clean line into here. Now that looks great, but you're putting a whole lot of stress right on the pinch point where the line is, and also the end is just getting all of this abrasion from the concrete. The line comes up great, but you will snap lines no matter how thick. Now let's see, with a better technique, how long this will last. Which is where I'm gonna let the line skim along the concrete and into the edge and then feather the edge the whole way along. This is the sort of wear pattern. It might be too small to show on camera. It's sort of just grinding it to a point. It's just grinding it on this little edge. And so that instead of it just snapping at brittle points along, you're just slowly basically sanding the edge off. Which yes, does fill your whole yard with microplastics, but I don't know what else to do. But you're not running into issues with this breaking. Now let's use it like an idiot and see how quickly we can get it to break. I'll go back along the whole line. Broken. Snapped right at the high stress point where it comes out of here in, what was that, 5 seconds? How often whippersnipper line breaks is far more down to technique than it is to the actual material quality of the line trimmer line. So Dave just doesn't know what he's doing. This line trimmer cable is far too thick for my particular line trimmer, but I still managed to fit it in. However, once I got it on there and started to use it, I quickly realized that this line trimmer, if used correctly, will out whippersnip the heat death of the universe. 5 stars. Back to the tennis balls where I left them alone with Finn for a couple days, and for those couple days we also used them for every game of fetch. And as you can tell, Finn absolutely hated helping with this project. Okay, go. By the way, if you want to help make sure Finn is always fed and always has some tennis balls to chase, you can consider joining the Patreon or even just clicking the thumbs up button and clicking subscribe. It really does help this video and the channel so much. So thank you very much to the Patreons. Now Finn is a moderately rough dog on tennis balls. He does tend to destroy them fairly easily. He doesn't really do it on purpose, just when we're playing fetch, he likes to just chew on them as he's bringing them back. But so far they've held up completely fine. Ultimately, these are $2.50. If your dog already destroys toys, I wouldn't be giving them these, but for $2.50, I really wouldn't be expecting the world. Go get him. Time for the final test to see if we can actually kill David's spade. Now underneath here is actually a line of concrete. So my plan is, if I dig underneath, I should now just be able to lever this until it breaks or it starts to pull up this entire garden bed. Let's see how it goes. So it looks like it's great for digging, bad for moving entire garden beds. But if you're not planning on moving an entire garden bed with concrete and all, then it probably is fine for most medium tasks. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to please click like, remember to subscribe to the channel. I'm still a fairly small Aussie YouTuber. Please considering supporting it. Check out the Patreon. YouTube memberships are also something you can do. Remember to jump on the Discord if you just want to hang out with a bunch of other gardeners. Please jump on the AliExpress team. There are vouchers below. Use the link, and the more we all buy together, the more we will all get cash back at the end of the month. Thank you very much. This video is part of No Effort November, where I'm trying to put out as many videos as I possibly can during the month. If you do have any requests, please let me know. Thank you very much. I will see you next time. I swear to God, in a future video, someone will ask me where I got my extra large hand trowel.